ugh, armies and armies and armies of regular people join the Imperial Guard to fight for the Imperium. The millions of worlds, like Earth times millions. 3 million
We're
Earths.
still no nearer to knowing what
Ugh.
the Pact sworn her up
And,
to,
you know,
but at least
they're
you
either
found a way
abducted,
inside. See
grown,
if you can find any survivors from the
cloned,
villages. But first
or
and foremost,
volunteer,
find
etc.
out what those grubby
Or again,
buggers
like
are
literally
up to.
abducted. They're like
I don't like
chosen
to
as kind of like
feel
slaves.
this
Like
way.
you will fight or we
No
will kill you.
one goes to Dragonfels for
You know,
innocent
gotta love it.
reasons.
To
Well, except you lot.
serve the Imperial Guard, and so it's just like, okay, even if we have to fight Space Marines, orcs, space orcs, or whatever these things are, we're gonna take, like, you know, 10 to 1, 100 to 1 for our enemies. We're gonna just outnumber them, which sounds good until you realize that even though it's like a, you know, oh, so it's a big swarm army, like a quarter of the armies in the game are swarm armies. And everything could be a swarm army. It just, that's not the best way to play it. Because you need to try to account for different things your opponent might do. Like, you can have a plan, like, oh, if I do this, then I get this attack. If they're within range, they get this buff bonus. And then I can, like, you know, get this objective while doing a secondary thing. Yeah, la la la. It's like, oh, awesome, cool. But is your opponent going to allow that? What if they're trying to do the same thing as you? Like, there's obviously going to be problems, so you need to account for that. And so that'll definitely change your army setup. Like, your opponent could have an extremely rushy close range army, or a very passive long range shooty army. And so you need to be able to deal with both potentially when you make your army. Or you can, you know, go balls deep into one strat, but then you can get countered. So keep that in mind. Most people try to play a balanced play style. Instead of doing all into one, all their eggs into one basket, so to say. Can you die, please? I don't. No, I'm not supposed to jump down there. Okay.
It seems the castle rolls even further below
I
now
fucking.
than above.
I haven't played this. Okay. I was like, what? Oh, here's slave master somewhere. Pack rat.
His life
Nice
dimmed,
shot.
and your shot
No, they're getting him. They got that. Imperial Guard also has a lot of tanks. They don't have like giant robots. They're just tank. They have flame spewing tanks. What the fuck is this? Right over there. Oh, I barely blocked it in time. Interesting. Oh, Jesus. I'm so glad he hasn't knocked me to my doom. If I fell right there, I'd be instant dead. Oh, Jesus. I got so lucky twice. 2 to 3 times. Anyway. So yeah, they just have tons of tanks, tons of dudes with little abilities, which can make it hard to hit their commanders because they have so many just chump fodder in the way. And they can also just try to cap objectives, and since they have more bodies than you, they can be hard to like kill off their objective. Like, you can kill them all, but the game's become more objective based, which I think it should be. Versus it's just killy. But I think it could also just be like killy. Killy! If anyone knows that reference, good on you.
Look at those closed cages.
Actually, ooh, I don't like that.
there
It's
never
so
was a
short.
great attack.
No?
Yeah, I'll probably change that. Yeah, so if you're just like the normal person, no like crazy sci-fi stuff, and they're just trying to fight back against all the sci-fi bullshit, Imperial Guard, they're a good army.
The rasp of fellows is the
Nope.
fire.
Let's see. Oh, so Adeptus Custodes and the Sisters of Silence. So I've mentioned before the warp, psychic gene, and whatnot. The Adeptus Custodes are all basically test tube babies that were designed to be uber Space Marines in every regard. And Space Marines go out and fight battles. The Custodes can, but they usually don't. They're mostly all on Terra, which Terra equals Earth, and they just sit there and guard the Emperor. They are Space Marine, but literally better in every way. Only exceptions are War God Space Marines that have thick ass plot armor, big booty plot armor, like Haldor Drago. Wait, is someone joining? He's Carillion? He's like derping. That's right, I could give this to somebody.
Ready, mate.
She's here.
Make bucks ahead.
What? I don't see them.
Confident fielding coming right up.
So the Custodes are just jacked in every way. They're very charismatic. Some of the Space Marines could have temperament issues because they're just grabbed from people. They're not like grown to do this one thing. They're raised from being a young child from like years 5 to 9 into becoming a Space Marine. They could be later than that, but they mostly aren't. The vast majority of them. But the Custodes are, and they'll just like stand for like 100 years in the same spot if that's their guard station. If they're told, hey, stand here, I'll come back at some point, they'll just stand there. That's it. Like unwavering, unblinking. It's insane. And on the tabletop, they're the strongest army stat-wise in the game for their normal units. Like their chaff beats every other chaff. Their weakest units is stronger than like everyone else's weakest units by far. But in return, they cost more points to field because you have a certain amount of points to spend, and that's how you build your army. So like it's one of the limits that's imposed. And you know, again, you could have statistically a great statted army, but then you know, you rolled like shit, and your opponent rolls great, and then it doesn't. Ah! Jesus! No! I thought he was dead. And then your opponent rolls really well, and then you just lost all your units to like random bullshit, which can be very frustrating. But since it's a game about collecting miniatures that you use in your army, by having units that cost a lot, you don't field as many, thus it costs you less. So it's actually one of the cheapest armies in the game, the Adeptus Custodes. That will also give like good results. I feel like when I do that attack, some of it doesn't trigger or get acknowledged. Did they just teleport over here? What happened? Yeah. Let's see. So, the Sisters of Silence, they have like the warp gene thing that lets them use the force, basically, the warp psychic powers. But in reverse, it's negative. So they have, it's kind of said to be like a soul. And so they have such a lack thereof that it terrifies people. It terrifies people, and that people that actually have that ability to use the warp find themselves having none of that. And not only that, the Sisters of Silence, where normally they'd like give someone a migraine or scare someone just by existing near them, if you have the ability to control the warp, you want to basically kill yourself. You want to rip off your own skin, tear your eyeballs out, gouge every fucking organ from your own body, and just fuck off compared to dealing with these guys, because they're just so terrifying. Not like, oh, I'm scared, but it's more like a mental thing. They just exude that much of a stronger presence. And the fact that, like, again, you have a heightened soul, you could say, because of your connection to the warp, the removal of that is like removing like, you know, your connection with your own soul, which drive people crazy as well. And there's funny some stories about like a family of super powerful psychers, psychic people, and they basically took over a world and like shit's ours now. And the governor of that planet used his Imperial Guard garrison forces, and he got reinforcements even, and a lot of different people to help him, and they just couldn't. What the hell? Oh, they're sea captains. They could not siege them and beat those psychers. They're too powerful, and each one could just destroy an army of this family of psychers. And then 3 Sisters of Silence just flew in. They're Sisters of Silence because they don't speak. They talk in fast, complicated hand signs. Fucking sign language. And so they just walk in there and kill them. Just behead them all. None of their powers worked against them. Not only that, they were basically driven mad and sick by their mere approach. So they can't fight back even if they wanted to. Like, it's not like, oh, it was really hard to fight back, but they can still do it. No, like, X equals 0. They can't do shit. Their powers are straight disabled. It's like if I threw... You'd have to, like, move a boulder, use psychic power above them, and drop the boulder. You can't thrust the boulder upon them. It'll stop working. But you can use natural gravity. But you'd struggle to even be able to use your powers in the range, so it likely wouldn't happen. Oh Jesus, so many attack masters. Attack master, slave masters. Fuck your shields. I like this weapon because it deals with heavy armored units and the storm vermin and shield vermin. So it's better against single entities, but against like weak ass swarms, it's crap. Let's see. Where am I supposed to go? So they work with the Adeptus Custodes, because Custodes are not psychers. So they need some kind of help, some assistance to deal with psychic threats. And both can go out though on certain missions, quests, divine or logical, to go do things or defeat an enemy.
There were others.
But it doesn't happen as much. And again, on the tabletop, if your opponent is running psychers, or psychers are very meta, you can run an anti-psycher army. Just like if your opponent was running law vehicles, or if vehicles are meta, you could run a Mechanicus army. But you preferably don't build against one opponent. It's if you and a bunch of friends, everyone's cool with it, yeah. But it's called tailoring, and basically why I say don't do that is it's kind of fucked, because there are armies which will get distinct advantages if done correctly, or against certain opponents, along with like certain objectives, etc. you can choose. And so by setting the game up like that, you're basically premeditating your own victory and giving yourself an unfair advantage, because your opponent may not necessarily be able to do that, considering you just picked against them. So yeah, and you know, it's still, in the end, it's a dice game. It's, oh my god, he's fucking floating vigorously at me. You could plan for everything and anything and still lose. You have the best list ever, and the dice can say, nope. Nuh-uh-uh, I don't think so. Nuh-uh-uh. So, yeah, but you know, you also paint your armies, so there's done bunch of different colors. You can paint them in regards to like their heraldry of any army in any faction. I don't need to kill this guy, but you know, it's about sending a message. Oh Jesus!
Keep your elbow up. Your guard's open. You damn.
Good thing friendly fire's off. Let's see. So yeah, that's actually the army I want to build, is Adeptus Custodes. only because they have the most options, either them or the Mechanicus. But I'm already playing Necrons, which I don't know, feels weird. There's gonna be a new Mechanicus book that comes out shortly. If some of their stronger units I like get buffed even further, then I'll probably just play Mechanicus because, like, you know, I want to win. Boy, Adeptus Custodes are all so cool. They're all so fucking cool. And, like, their head guy is one of the probably, like, top 2 or 3 most unkillable units in the game. Mortarion, fucking Saltorin, or whatever the fucking custodian name is, and Silent King are probably the 3 most unkillable units. There's some other really hard to kill units, but I think those would be the top 3. Do I just sit here? Oh, what the fuck? Survive? Not even fight? I don't think I've ever played this one. Throw faster. Burn. Burn in holy fire! You are bound for Sigma! The Holy Empire and Cauliflower! That's literally how my character talks. I love him. So fire. You seem like a heretic! Are you? Might just kill you anyway. Let's see. So yeah. Either Custodes or Mechanicus I'll play. Stop it. And then the last group of the Imperium I'll talk about is the Inquisition and the Assassinorum, which is kind of part of the Inquisition. I don't know. So there's one Space Marine group called the Grey Knights, which are all Psychers that fight just demons. They can fight everything else, but they're mostly, their point, the reason they exist is to deal with demons. And they're very good at their job. But they work for the Inquisition. The Inquisition are the only people that can control nukes. And most of the better stories, I'd say, even, are Inquisition novels. Because they're all Batman-y, or they're all detectives. But they're detectives with the ability to launch nukes, call in whatever reserves they fucking want, basically. They wield an immense amount of political power. And they're kind of like the only ones that could do that, too. Do I shoot you? No. Yeah, it's really to survive. Oh my god, what the fuck? Like the block bait. And the Assassinorum are all just elite assassins. There's a sniper elite assassin, there is a shape-shifting close range polymorphy assassin. Die! There is an assassin that's close range psychotic that you basically, if the enemy commander is in the field, lore-wise, you can just send him out there if he doesn't have great protection to just go ham wild and fucking, instead of being sneaky, just run up there with tons of psycho conditioning and cocaine, PCP and speed, drugs going through the system, and then if they can't kill him, or even if they do afterwards, they'll probably just explode. Just a psycho with a bomb inside of him. Just so insane. I love it. But it's fucking terrifying. And then there is an assassin type for dealing with psychers, which is like the blank gene, which is the negative psychic gene, and like the Sisters of Silence, which hone it, these guys hone it to the max, where they can like shoot it out, almost like a invisible psychic wave or bullet, spear, and they will, where I said before, where people will feel very uncomfortable, but if you're a psyker, you'll like want to kill yourself, tear off your own skin, just because of the pain you go through on so many different levels from being near a blank, potentially, depending on how well the blank uses her powers and how deeply connected to the warp you are. But these guys, they will make regular people feel like that. And if you're a psyker, oh no, you're so fucked. They're the best like psyker snipers like in the game. But again, against everything else, they're not amazing. And again, in lore, everyone is amazing in everything. You know, you can find an instance where everything is cool, everything is unbeatable or super amazing, and then you could probably find an instance where it's also the opposite.
A fine day,
Uh,
as long as you were
yeah,
fit
that's
for